They made me give up my room every holiday, so I stopped coming and bought my own lake house. I was halfway up the stairs with my overnight bag cutting into my shoulder when my aunt stepped into the hallway, put her palm flat on my childhood bedroom door like she was claiming it, and said, "Oh, just so you know, you're in the den this year. The guests need the real bed." The word guests came out like a title, like those people mattered in a way I apparently didn't. I could already see the top of my quilt through the cracked door, the faded one my grandma made, the same one I slept under when I was little and thought this room belonged to me in a way that couldn't be taken away. My stomach went tight, hot, and then weirdly cold. Behind me, my suitcase wheels clacked against the stairs, loud in the quiet. I stood there holding my breath, waiting for someone, anyone, to look at me and say, "That's not fair." Nobody did. My mom's voice floated up from the kitchen, cheerful and oblivious in that way that makes you want to scream. "Honey, can you bring up the wrapping paper? And don't forget to take your shoes off. Your uncle just mopped." Down the hall, I heard laughter. My cousins already settled in the living room, the TV on too loud, the smell of cinnamon candles and roasted meat curling around the banister like a trap. My aunt kept her hand on the door, eyebrows raised like she was expecting me to say "of course" and disappear. I could feel my face heating up, my ears buzzing, the familiar childhood sensation of being told where I'm allowed to exist. I set my bag down on the step, very carefully, like if I moved too fast I'd break something in myself. "The den," I repeated. My voice came out too calm, which always happens right before I cry or explode. My aunt gave me that tight smile adults give kids when they're pretending something is reasonable. "It's just for a few nights," she said. "You're young. You'll be fine. The pull-out is comfortable. And we need the room for Mary Ann and Jeff." They drove all the way from out of state. Histoire de hair. Mary Ann and Jeff were not related to us. Mary Ann was my uncle's co-worker's wife. Jeff was, I don't even know, a guy who liked fishing and telling stories loudly. They'd been invited for the holiday because my uncle loves collecting people like trophies. And apparently that meant I, the actual family member, could be shoved into a room with no door and a couch that always smelled vaguely like dog. "I'm not sleeping in the den," I said, and I heard the tremor underneath my words like a warning siren. My aunt's smile slipped into annoyance. "Don't start," she said quietly, like I was being difficult. "We're trying to have a nice holiday." That line, "don't start," landed like a slap because it implied I'd already been doing something wrong just by existing. I looked down the hallway at my room, at the door with the little sticker I put on it in middle school, the one nobody ever removed. I felt 12 again, standing there while adults rearranged my life and expected gratitude. I didn't argue, not because I agreed, because something in me finally got tired. It started years ago, honestly. The give up your room thing wasn't a one-time inconvenience. It was tradition, not an official one, but one of those unspoken family rules where the same person always sacrifices and everyone pretends it's random. When I was a kid, my grandparents' house was the holiday house. It was the place everyone came to, Christmas, Easter, random long weekends. After my parents divorced, Mom and I moved back into my grandparents' place for a while. That bedroom, the one at the top of the stairs, became mine by default. It was the only space that felt stable. It was where I hid during fights, where I did homework, where I cried into my pillow when Dad forgot to call. It was mine. Then my uncles started inviting guests. At first it was cousins, which made sense. "The kids can share," they'd say, so I slept on the floor in a sleeping bag while my cousins took the bed, because I was the local kid and they were the visitors. I told myself it was fine because family. They became adults. "Your aunt needs the bed," they'd say. "Your cousin is pregnant. Your uncle's back can't handle the couch." The reasoning always changed, but the result never did. I got moved. And the thing is, everyone acted like it was a compliment. "You're so easygoing," they'd say, patting my shoulder as I dragged a blanket toward the den. "You don't mind, right?" They'd ask that as I was already holding the pillow, like there was an answer they'd actually accept. I minded. I always minded. I just learned that saying no made the whole house turn on me like I was ruining Christmas. By the time I was in my 20s, I wasn't living there anymore. I had my own apartment, my own bed, my own routine. But every holiday, I'd come home, and somehow I'd still get assigned the worst sleeping situation. The den, the air mattress in the hallway, the couch by the kitchen where people stepped over me to get coffee at 6 a.m. Once, they put me in the laundry room and laughed like it was quirky. I laughed too, because what else do you do when you're trying not to cry in front of people who will call you dramatic? The last straw wasn't actually about the bed. It was about what the bed represented, my place in the family hierarchy. I'm the one who helps clean up. I'm the one who watches the kids so everyone else can drink wine. I'm the one who brings extra paper towels, who picks up forgotten gifts, who makes sure grandma takes her pills. I'm the one who gets told, "You're such a lifesaver," right before someone asks me to give up my space again. So when my aunt told me den this year, something inside me just clicked, like a latch finally letting go. I picked up my bag again. "Where's Marianne and Jeff sleeping?" I asked, not because I didn't know, but because I needed to hear it out loud. "In your room," my aunt said, like it was obvious. "They're older, sweetie. They need the bed." I looked at her hand on my door. Then I looked down the stairs toward the kitchen where Mom was humming along to Christmas music, completely unaware that my chest felt like it was being squeezed. "I'm going to a hotel," I said. My aunt blinked. "Don't be ridiculous." "I'm not," I said. "I'm going to a hotel. Or I'm going home. But I'm not sleeping in the den." Her face hardened. "Do you hear yourself?" she snapped quietly. "It's one night. You're making a scene." I could feel my throat tighten. "I've been sleeping in the den for 10 years, I said. "I'm done." My aunt's eyes narrowed, like she was trying to decide if I was bluffing. "If you leave, you're going to hurt your grandmother," she said. "She looks forward to this." That was the guilt knife. The sharp one. The one they always used because it worked. I swallowed hard. "Grandma will be hurt because you're treating me like a spare piece of furniture," I said, voice shaking now. "Not because I won't sleep on a couch." My aunt opened her mouth to respond, but my mom appeared at the bottom of the stairs, wiping her hands on a towel, smile bright. "What's going on?" she asked, eyes flicking between us. My aunt smiled instantly, like she'd been caught mid-cruelty. "Nothing," she said. "Just sorting rooms." Mom frowned. "Okay, honey, you can take your room. I told your aunt that." My aunt's face twitched. "We already told Marianne they could have it," she said quickly, as if that settled it. "They've driven so far." Mom hesitated, and I saw it. The old reflex to keep peace at any cost. The part of Mom that still acts like my uncle's family is a weather system we have to accommodate. Well, Mom started uncertain. I looked at her, and I realized something that made my chest ache. Mom wasn't the villain. She was just trained to give in, trained to be grateful to be invited, trained to accept crumbs of belonging. And she'd passed some of that training on to me. "Mom," I said softly, "I'm not doing it." Her eyes widened slightly. "Not doing what?" "I'm not sleeping in the den," I repeated. "I'm leaving." Mom's mouth opened. But what?" I asked, and my voice cracked. "But Grandma? But tradition? But Marianne and Jeff need the bed more than I do." I shook my head, feeling tears prick behind my eyes. "I'm 31. I have a bed at home. I only come here because I'm trying to be part of this family. And every time I come, I get shoved into a corner like I'm optional." The kitchen went quiet. Someone turned the music down. I heard my uncle's voice from the living room. "What's happening?" That tone, already annoyed, made my stomach flip because I knew what came next. The performance of me being dramatic. My aunt crossed her arms. "You're being dramatic," she said, right on cue. "It's a bed." "It's not a bed," I said, and my voice surprised me with how steady it was. "It's the fact that you always choose me as the one who has to give something up. It's the fact that nobody even asks anymore. You just assume." My uncle appeared at the end of the hallway, big and loud, wearing his holiday sweater like armor. "What's the problem?" he demanded. My aunt jumped in immediately. "She's refusing to sleep in the den," she said, like I'd refused to donate an organ. My uncle stared at me, eyebrows raised. "Seriously," he said, "you're making this a thing?" "Marianne and Jeff are guests." "And I'm what?" I asked, and the question came out so raw it felt like it scraped my throat. He paused and scoffed. "Don't do that," he said, echoing my aunt's earlier words. "Don't play victim." There it was. The sentence that always makes you feel like you're going insane. Because the moment you name the pattern, they accuse you of inventing it. I nodded slowly, wiping my eyes with the back of my hand because I refused to cry in front of him like a child. Okay, I said. I'm leaving. My uncle's face hardened. Fine, he snapped. Go. If you want to be selfish, be selfish. Mom stepped forward, voice shaky. Please don't, she said to me, not to him. Please, it's Christmas. That hurt. Not because she asked me to bend, again, instead of asking them to stop breaking me. I kissed Mom's cheek because I didn't trust myself to speak without sobbing. Then I walked down the stairs, out the front door, and into the cold night air, dragging my bag like it weighed 100 pounds. I sat in my car in the driveway for 10 minutes with my hands on the steering wheel, shaking. Inside, I could see warm yellow light in the windows. I could hear faint laughter. The world continued without me. And that was the most heartbreaking part, because I realized how easy it was for them to replace my presence with someone else in my bed. I went home. That year, I spent Christmas morning in my own apartment, in pajamas, drinking coffee in silence. I cried on and off all day, not dramatic sobbing, just those quiet tears that leak out when you're grieving something you can't really name. I watched a movie. I ate a frozen pizza. I texted Grandma and told her I loved her. She replied with a heart emoji and miss you. And I cried again because she probably had no idea what had happened upstairs. And then I stopped coming. Not in a dramatic, I'm cutting you all off way. I just stopped. I make an excuse. Work, travel, not feeling well. At first, they were annoyed. Then they were confused. Then, eventually, they stopped asking with urgency. Holidays went on. Photos got posted. Family time captions. Smiling faces. My empty spot filled by whoever needed a bed. Mom would call me after and say, "You should have come. It was nice." And I'd feel that old guilt rise like bile. Sometimes I'd nearly cave. Sometimes I'd even drive halfway there before turning around, heart pounding, because the thought of walking into that house and immediately being moved made my skin crawl. During those years, something else happened quietly in the background. I started building my own life on purpose. I got promoted. I saved money like it was my religion. I went to therapy, not because I was broken, but because I was tired of carrying a family's emotional mess like it was my job. I learned how to say no without apologizing. I learned that boundaries feel like guilt when you've been trained to be convenient. And I started taking little trips by myself to a lake about 2 hours away. I'd rent a cabin in the off-season. Cheap, quiet, empty. I'd sit on a porch with a blanket and watch the water like it was a living thing. It made my nervous system feel normal, like I could breathe without bracing. One weekend, sitting there with my coffee and a book, I had a thought that felt absurd at first. What if I had my own place? Not because I needed to prove something, because I wanted somewhere that was mine in a way no one could take. Somewhere no one could reassign. Somewhere the bed would always be mine unless I invited someone into it. It took time. It wasn't some instant revenge fantasy. I looked at listings for months. I ran numbers. I panicked. I told myself it was irresponsible. Then I realized how many responsible choices I'd made my whole life to keep other people comfortable, and how little of that comfort came back to me. So I bought a small lake house. It's not a mansion. It's not Pinterest perfect. It's a 2-bedroom place with creaky floors and a deck that needs repainting and a kitchen that still is 90s tile. But it sits 5 minutes from the water. And the first time I unlocked the door with my own key, I stood in the empty living room and laughed. This wild, startled laugh, because I realized I'd just given myself something I'd been begging for from family my whole life. A place. The first holiday season after I bought it, Mom called me in early December. "Are you coming this year?" she asked, tentative. I looked around my lake house, at the little tree I'd put up, at the string lights on the deck, at the clean bed with fresh sheets that smelled like laundry detergent and peace. I felt my throat tighten. "No," I said gently. "I'm not." Mom's voice wobbled. "But, Grandma." "I'll visit Grandma," I said. "I'll take her to lunch. I'll see her. But I'm not staying there. Not for holidays." Silence. Then Mom whispered, "They miss you." I almost laughed. "Do they miss me?" I asked softly, Or do they miss having someone to give up their bed? Mom didn't answer. Christmas morning, I woke up at the lake house to snow, light, powdery, settling on the deck like sugar. I made coffee and stood at the window, watching the lake steam faintly in the cold. The quiet felt holy. No one telling me where to sleep. No one asking me to wash dishes while they relaxed. No one calling me dramatic for wanting basic respect. I got a text from my aunt that afternoon. So you're really not coming? Grandma's disappointed. I stared at it for a long time. The old guilt tried to crawl on my spine. Then I typed back, I'm sorry Grandma's disappointed. I'm available to visit her any day. I'm not available to be displaced every holiday. My aunt didn't respond. Later that week, Grandma called me. Her voice was small and tired. Honey, she said, your mother says you have a little place by the lake. My chest tightened. Yeah, I said, trying to keep my voice light. It's small, but it's nice. She hummed. I'm proud of you, she said, and I felt tears sting my eyes because she said it like she meant it. You always took care of everyone. It's good you have something for yourself. I swallowed hard. Did Mom tell you why I stopped coming? I asked quietly. Grandma paused. She said there was a disagreement about sleeping arrangements, she said delicately, like she was trying not to choose sides. I laughed softly, but it sounded sad. Yeah, I said. That's one way to put it. Grandma sighed. Your uncle always thinks he can fit everyone like puzzle pieces, she murmured. But some pieces get bent. My throat burned. I got bent, I whispered before I could stop myself. Grandma was quiet. Then she said, then don't bend anymore. I sat there with the phone pressed to my ear, staring out at the lake, and I felt something in my chest loosen that I didn't even know was tight. That's the part that people don't understand when they hear the headline version. I bought my own lake house. They picture it like a mic drop, revenge moment. Like I bought it to spite them. Like it was a dramatic flex. It wasn't. I bought it because I got tired of being the person who always made room for everyone else. I got tired of being treated like an afterthought in a place that was supposed to feel like home. I bought it because I wanted a holiday where my nervous system didn't feel like a live wire. And the funniest, saddest part? The year after I bought it, my uncle messaged me in November. Just, heard you have a place near the lake. We should do Christmas there sometime. I stared at that message until my eyes blurred. My hands actually shook with the sheer audacity. I wrote back one sentence. No. He replied with a question mark, like he couldn't comprehend the concept of a boundary that didn't move when he pushed it. I didn't answer. Now, when people ask why I don't go home for the holidays, I tell them the truth in the simplest way I can. I didn't feel welcome. Some people nod like they get it. Some people say, but family? Like family is a magic word that excuses everything. And I think about that hallway, my aunt's hand on my door, the way no one looked at me and said, that's a room too. I think about how small I felt and how quietly furious. Then I look around my lake house, at the bed that's always mine, at the silence I fought for, at the peace that doesn't require me to shrink. And I don't miss the den. Not for 1 second.